In the hills of eastern Arizona, just under the tree line of the White Mountains, Morenci emerges from the landscape, a town dug out of the mine it feeds with copper and labor.
It was a good place to grow up in. There was 3 rivers there that you could go fishing to, all kinds of outdoor activities, and we're right there at the base of the White Mountains.
Joe Sorrelman was a teenager in the mid-60s, growing up in a company town where everyone knew everyone, and the mine held almost all of the opportunity.
Morenci was probably 5,000 people, counting cats and dogs, and Morenci was a jumping off place to nowhere, you know.
But nowhere held a lot of promise for military recruiters looking for young men to help the American cause in Vietnam.
As our boys died, I used to feel it was such a waste, but I no longer feel that it was a waste. These are tough kids. I mean, they lived outdoors. You know, a lot of them are Boy Scouts, you know, if we want to talk the patriotic foundations. Almost all hunted. You know, they camped. These were not city boys.
Kyle Longley is the author of the Morenci Marines. He says as the war ramped up in Vietnam, recruiters spent a lot of time making the rounds of small towns like Morenci.
They wore their dress blues. They wove great stories of opportunity. And these young men basically had 2 options. One, join the military or go straight into the mines and work just like their fathers.
I can't remember.
Sorrelman was one of the first to meet with a Marine recruiter in March 1966.
That's me.
Sorrelman was Navajo. He thought being a Marine was just part of the Navajo tradition. It wasn't long before other classmates followed. First, it was Sorrelman's best friend, Larry West. Then, 6 more. Leroy Cisneros, Mike Cranford, Bobby Draper, Clive Garcia, Robert Moncayo, and Van Whitmer. Stan King, who had already graduated from Morenci High School, signed up a few days later. The Morenci 9, as they became known, went through boot camp together. Sorrelman remembered the physical part was difficult, but the mental game was the real test, and it was nice to know someone always had your back.
Bobby Dale Draper, who was a little heavier set, would fall behind on the long runs, and somebody'd pick up his pack, help him out.
But that muddy war in Vietnam was looming, and when orders came, the Morenci Marines were broken up. Sorrelman was in the first group to head in-country.
That's me.
His first assignment, guarding a helicopter base, was tedious and lacking the adventure that Sorrelman yearned for.
I wanted to get into the real actual, what combat would be like. So I volunteered to go to division.
He was sent to Con Thien, a military base just outside the demilitarized zone that saw some of the worst fighting of 1967.
At the time, I was scared to death. I don't know how you explain that. I mean, it's a different kind of afraid. It's not like when somebody jumps out in front of you and say boo to you and you get scared, or it's a scared that it's kind of your body kind of like just takes over to survive.
And even a world away from the desert mine in the humid jungle of Vietnam, he stayed connected with his friends.
Larry and Bobby and Leroy, we kept in touch.
Morenci and its people had a strong pull on the boys.
And this is Larry West, my very best friend.
It's a small town. You didn't get to question, you know, what the duty was. This is not Berkeley. This is not Madison. This is Morenci, Arizona, southeastern Arizona, and they're very, very proud of the military service that their people have given throughout most of America's wars.
Morenci, like many small industrial or farming communities, is used to sacrificing for country.
Of the 9, Bobby Dale Draper is going to be the first that dies, August 2nd, 1967.
The town, it seemed, was asked to sacrifice again and again.
Next one to go is Stan King. He'd only been in country 2 weeks. Then, April, right after the Tet Offensive, Van Whitmer dies. Then Larry West, who had come back for his second tour, dies. And then Robert Moncayo dies just outside of Quezon. So it's just bang, bang, bang. It became so bad that people would look and see these government sedans and start praying, don't stop at my house. But then they knew they were going to stop somewhere.
3 of the original 9 Marines came home. Leroy Cisneros and Mike Cranford have passed in recent years. Only Sorrelman is left. But the town hasn't forgotten. There's 2 displays at the new high school, reminding today's teens about the past. And high on a hill that overlooks Morenci's sister town, Clifton, is a monument built by other Morenci veterans, a reminder that towns like these pay a bigger price than some.
It's still very much built into the psyche, and it won't go away anytime soon.
Sorrelman says he thinks a lot about his friends.
I go back and sometimes think about the things that we did, guys I used to hang out with.
His boyhood memories are rich in the mountains and rivers here. And more than the battles of Vietnam, Morenci shapes who he is.
Because it's home.